Oh, all right. Looks like I'm live here. Okay. Kind of snuck up on me. Wasn't quite expecting it there just yet. All right. I'm going to share this. I have to share it with my the rest of my social media pages. Sure, it's going to take a couple minutes for a few people to trickle in, anyways. All right. Hopefully, I don't get bumped off like I did yesterday. We'll see how this one pans out. I'm using the other streaming service once again, so social media pages. Sure, it is possible for it to get for me to get bumped off like what happened yesterday. Like I say, I'm not sure if it's because it's too busy, too many people streaming at once, or if it's this particular service that's maybe not as stable, or maybe a setting I have yet to figure out. Hope everyone's doing good today, by the way. If there is anyone in the chat as of yet, it's a sunny day, at least, well, my particular part of Canada. Okay, share. So let's share it to Facebook. There we go. Share to the Twitterverse. And why not? Let's throw it on mines as well. Why not? Close that. All right. Now, oh yeah, I got to increase the font size here. What's going on? Boosted LSS. Oh, sweet. LS. Boosted LS. Nice, nice. Chevy Power, I would assume you're talking about there. Victoria here. Hey, Victoria, BC. How's the weather in Victoria today? Good morning. Have you seen the article on True North this morning all about the fine? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll be covering some of those, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I see that, Damian Quinn. I have, for sure. That's one of the things I'm going to be covering. Hey, Dustin, L, how's it going? Morning, great info the other day. Well, thank you very much, Dustin. It's too bad, like I say, that my stream got cut off, if that's the one you're talking about. It's in two. I'll have to try to put them together somehow. On Kevin Caleb, Ontario's testing less every day. We were testing around 5,000 a day. Now we're only testing 2,500 yesterday, and has 380 confirmed. That's a huge number of positive tests. Yeah, it would be. It would be for sure. Well, I mean, 380 out of 2,500, that would be, in excess of 10%, right? Because 250 of 2,500 would be 10%. So that's a pretty high number for sure. Trying to accomplish my motorcycle pickup from another town while exercising social distancing. Yeah. More than challenging. Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you're in your vehicle, that's actually one of the places that you are completely isolated. And, even most modern vehicles today have all the HEPA filters and everything in them. Even just rolling up your windows, there's not much chance of infecting anyone. But yeah, I guess tell them I'll leave the cash in the envelope. You leave the bike with the keys or something. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Okay, so let me just make sure I can make sure everything's good on this streaming service over here. Yeah, everything, I guess, looking okay so far. So far, so good. How many? It looks like my internet quality might not be so great, though. Let's see here. I'll just keep it down low on my end anyway, so I'm not using up too much of the bandwidth. Where can I see, though? I am not seeing in here who's in the chat or how many's in the chat. Where did it all go? Okay, there we're seeing it now. It's starting to pick up now. Getting a few people streaming into the stream. Okay, what's going to be the first one I'm going to want to cover here? Well, actually, so I would assume, since it was already brought up by, let me go check again. That was, Damien. So I assume, based on what Damien had already brought up, is you were referencing the article from Lindsay Shepard, contributed to True North. She's a very big advocate of freedom of speech. I'm sure you're mostly familiar with her from the Sir Wilfrid Laurier incident. And yeah, it's headline Shepard, social distance or pay up. All across Canada and the U.S., the authoritarian measures to enforce social distancing are getting stronger. So let's see what Lindsay's got to say. Oh, it's another one where it's mostly just video, but it says all across Canada and the U.S., the authoritarian measures to enforce social distancing are getting stronger. Is this government overreach or is it justified? Should we be worried? True North's Lindsay Shepard gives you the update. Find a charity in your community that you can support. So that's pretty minor. Like I say, watch the video if you get the chance to do that. Unfortunately, all these videos will be, or all these articles will be linked in this stream once it's done anyways, if you want to do it and check them after the fact. So let me close that one up. And then there was, because I had another similar article referencing that too. Let me just find it. Yeah, here we go. Is it any in this thing too? Let me see if it was in this thing. No. So this one here is out of the National Post. A little more extensive than the True North article. It's got a headline that says, COVID-19, Civil Liberties Group warns of unfair and arbitrary law enforcement as hefty fines across Canada pile up. Police and bylaw officers across Canada have turned unwitting dog walkers into social deviants, sowing confusion over what is acceptable behavior now. So let me just read a little bit of here. This is reported by Jesse Schneider, April 8th, 2020. Ottawa, a civil liberties group is cautioning police and municipal bylaw officers against leveling increasingly draconian fines against people who fail to adhere to social distancing measures, as cities and towns double down on efforts to stem the spread of COVID-19. Police and bylaw officers across Canada have issued hundreds of fines against people who break social distancing rules, turning unwitting dog walkers into social deviants and sowing confusion over what is acceptable behavior during the COVID-19 pandemic. Municipal law enforcement in Halifax, Montreal, and Ottawa in particular have slapped residents with harsh penalties in recent days, according to a review of fines in major cities by the National Post. City officials have fined people who rest in public parks or cross through empty soccer fields and threatened charges against neighbors who attended a social distancing birthday party from their cars. Like, what the? At some point, this pandemic in some jurisdictions stopped being about public health and started being about public order, because politicians weren't seeing the behavior that they wanted out of their constituents, said Michael Bryant, Executive Director of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Actually, speaking about this, so like I say, this article will be in the description of the video, or in the description of the stream. But actually, this kind of reminded me, because they're talking about civil liberties. And when you're talking about civil liberties, this is when that term libertarian keeps propping up. And I saw that on Ezra Levant's video from just, was it yesterday? I'll open that up, actually. That should be right. I should be able to find that fairly easy. Because, yeah, if anyone out there knows Ezra, I mean, I suppose I could try to reach out to him myself, but I mean, if he wants to talk, but that's the thing. I believe that Ezra's a lawyer as well. But I mean, if he wants to hear what an actual libertarian, this is the problem with these people that talk about, like, he's a lawyer, right? He's a lawyer. Anyways, I'm going to find that article here and I'll show you exactly, or I'll tell you what it is and what my response to it was. Here we go. So, yeah, so the heading of the Rebel Media's or Rebel News YouTube channel is "Are Quarantines Legal?" Civil liberties lawyer Sam Goldstein explains government power during an emergency. Now, I definitely listened to it. because, this, once again, this person talked about being, a libertarian, or talking about, what civil liberties mean, and how did, what this whole thing, how it's unfolding, and what the proper government response is. And all I heard was, as would be typical for someone that is a lawyer, is just quoting, right, all the edicts that the political class has brought about to circumvent liberty. So he's basically saying, well, the government can do this, the federal government can do this, and the provincial government can do this, and even the local governments, like they can do this. But all he's doing is reading from what, legislation or political acts or edicts have been implemented or interjected into our legal or justice system, or the Bill of Rights. Because it's, once again, it comes down to this pretense of your inalienable inherent rights, but then with this disclaimer clause where, you have all these rights, but the government can override them for this excuse, for this excuse, for this excuse, for this excuse. So I mean, anybody can. I mean, it doesn't take much to tell you the truth. I hope you didn't pay much there, Ezra, to get that kind of advice, because, with lawyers usually have quite high. I would say you could have got much, much better information from me, and, wouldn't have charged you probably nearly as much, right? Chances are I might have even done it for free, just so that you're getting proper advice. But for someone to just call up a lawyer and ask someone to read, what government edicts are, or their interpretation in regards to what they're allowed to do. If you ask government, or you go by what their edicts are and what they suggest they're allowed to do, then don't pretend that you care about liberties, because you're going by the language of the authoritarians, right? If you recognize as a libertarian, and I would, like I say, this person brought up the whole thing with libertarian and civil liberties, so, hey, he actually admitted he's more predominantly a criminal lawyer, but I guess he dabbles a little bit in trying to learn about what it is to be free. But I mean, come on, obviously his bread and butter is, criminal law, and he just goes by whatever the government tells him what laws are, right? So, like I say, at the very, very least, very minimal, talk to an actual libertarian. That's all I would request from anybody. If you want to talk about civil liberties, please, Ezra, or anyone else out there, talk to an actual libertarian. If you don't want to talk to me, maybe I'll give you a little bit too much truth. I don't know, at least call up Tim Moen, although you'll probably get a whole lot more truth than you probably want to accept either, because the information is out there. It's just, we're not going to reference government documents that tell us how they can infringe upon our rights. If you're referencing a government document or edict that says that, we're allowed to circumvent your rights, whenever we deem it's necessary, then why ask the person's opinion? It's like, I don't know, whatever my master tells me, that's my interpretation of civil liberties, right? Well, if that's the case, then, like I say, why pretend to be a libertarian? Just own up the fact that you're a lawyer, and you'll get paid to lie. That's literally your job, right? As a lawyer, you get paid to lie on a continual and regular basis. So, and quite well, I'll add. But I found that quite disturbing. But anyway, so I put in there, and it's so weird. I was going through all 371 comments now, but there was only like 200 some comments. And actually, when I did it, there was very few comments. But I found this quite strange. So it's like, is my comment actually, it's there because I see it, but has anyone else seen it? Because there's 371 comments, and I'm looking through a lot of these comments that even some of them that came much more recent than my own. So this one here below, well, you got 19 hours ago. Mine was 18 hours ago. You got some of them, like I say, you have to scroll down, but there are only a few hours ago that have thumbs up. All these, everyone that you scroll down, they all have thumbs up or replies. Mine's the only one that has zero of anything. No thumbs up, no thumbs down even, right? No interaction whatsoever, no replies to it. And I put, if anyone is truly interested in hearing what a proper libertarian perspective is, not a lawyer's interpretation of such, feel free to check out some of my recent live streams regarding COVID-19. Then I put, because they were talking about, this is only temporary, right? Maybe we'll get concerned if the government goes back or keeps this on longer than they're supposed to. And he's saying, they have 30 days or they have 120 days or blah, blah, blah. Like I say, just regurgitating political talking points or political edicts. But like I put on here is, they're only temporary, huh? Well, the income war tax measure, right? income tax, that was touted as a temporary measure as well to pay for the war, to pay for World War I. Something tells me that, just reality today says rather than a few percentage to pay for the war of your income that's confiscated by big government, well, we've seen it's been ramped up over the past 100 years. It's never gone away. It's only gotten worse. So to believe that governments are just going to relinquish these kind of powers, and even if they do for temporarily, we have to all sit down and talk like, big boys and girls and acknowledge the fact that the government has written into the Constitution, or should I say the Bill of Rights, a clause that gives them the get out of jail free card where they can go full on totalitarian or authoritarian whenever they deem fit, right? This notwithstanding clause. So, like I say, I know this lawyer isn't going to want to delve into that because, he's got to go to the courts. He's got to deal with all these status all day, every day. So you're not going to get the kind of information that you'll hear from me, from these type of people. But I found it weird that not one person interacted or engaged with that comment. But anyways, not that I suspect Ezra would be watching my videos, but if someone that does watch my videos, you might want to put a bug in Ezra's ear that, you're not getting a libertarian perspective. And you're getting a lawyer's perspective is what you're getting. So, like I say, big old fail as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, back to the chat. Because like I say, as is pointed out, there are people being fined. I mean, fined for going to walk your dog, right? Oh, but what if, right? It's that what if scenario. Oh, but did you cause harm to anyone? Did you pass the virus on anyone? There's no way to know that. But hey, what if, just in case, let me fine you, just in case, because there's a potential you may do something. It's not wait until you actually have been proven to do something wrong. No. Like I say, in this preemptive collective scenario, this modern world we live in today, right? Preemptive punishment and collective punishment, well, we're just going to punish you anyways. Even if you haven't actually caused any harm. Even if there is no victim. And what? What are you supposed to do? Either you're going to have to pay it or what? You're going to go to the courts? Most of the courts are closed down. So, I don't know. Like, this stuff is just so fucking insane. But people, like I say, a lot of Canadians will put up with this shit. Anyways, there's that, like I say. Okay. Yeah, so let me close that. Like I say, that'll be in the link below as well. That'll be, like I say, all the things I'm covering will be in the description of this stream. So let's get back down into the chat and see what if anyone else has joined here. We got a dozen watching there anyways. Okay, what's going on, Soylent Guy? Or Goy? Soylent Goy. And you have a gun to defend yourself? You don't ask people questions like that on a public stream. I wouldn't suggest anyone to answer it either. You don't know who the hell this person is. Yeah, don't ask questions like that. T-Pro1115, why are all the hospitals empty nationwide and worldwide? I have no idea if they are or are not. And once again, I'll leave that to other people that want to deal with that situation. Like I say, I like to deal with more of the philosophical, the genuine, like things that have to do with justice and law and liberties as a libertarian. That's my concern, right? Whether the hospitals, are people manipulating or telling us wrong things in terms of how busy the hospitals are? I don't know. Like, that's definitely something. If you want to be one of those on-the-ground reporters, go figure that out, right? Or if you know other people that want to do it, it's not my priority as a libertarian. Why do you need a gun, genius? Who's going to attack me and my two dogs? There's nothing wrong with having a weapon to defend yourself, so I'm all for people having the right to defend themselves. That's as a libertarian. Once again, folks, you got to remember, this is a libertarian channel, right? This is literally... That's what it is, right? Hey, what's going on, Rika? This is a giant wealth transfer. Yes, there's definitely a giant wealth transfer going on, that's for sure. Cops shoot dogs all the time. But okay, you tell them you're going to walk the dog. Tough guys facing a giant police state are funny. They talk tough in chat rooms. When they face the police state firsthand, they tuck their tails and run. If it's a person by themselves, what do they do, right? Unless they're walking down the road like in some kind of a... Anyways, I don't know what kind of scenario you're trying to paint up there, Soylent Goy, but no. not everyone's stupid enough that if you have a gang of armed thugs, mindless order followers, not everyone's stupid enough to go out to them and what? What are you going to do? Yell at them? Anyways, don't worry, the cops will take care of you, Howard G. Yeah, some people, they look for, like, to them, they look for the enforcers, right, to protect them. It's like a bad place to look. But, hey, whatever floats your boat, right? That temporary power grabbing. Yeah, temporary. Yeah, it's sure, temporary, right? Well, like I say, just the sheer fact that they pretend to have the authority to do so, I mean, that's already enough to show you that, the document, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, it's basically wasted. It's useless. It's a waste of paper, or it's a waste of time typing these things even into a screen, right? Because if they can override them anytime they want, well, what's the point? What's the point? Over 500 people die in Canada a day from other illness, suicide, and accidents than coronavirus has done to date. I haven't looked into the daily, but yeah, people can get into those statistics. It's quite easy to find out, like, how many people die every day from lots of different things, right? That's just a reality. They have started talking about the solution to get back to work. We have to test you before you can work. This either involves one of the following options. I'm at work. What's going on, B-Cube? Oh, shh. Keep that on the low key, right? Is this the 5G cover-up to have... I don't know. That seems a little bit... Anyways, like I say. I'm at a hospital right now, and Tim Grover. Sleeping. Yeah. Pretty dead, I assume, is what you're saying. Like, pretty quiet, I assume. Muhammad... What the hell is this? Yeah, that's quite the name you got there. I will not allow anyone to test me for anything. Oh, you don't have to. Or you shouldn't have to, but like I say, people are going to find out just how totalitarian and how authoritarian these states, these supposedly benign states, these Western democracies really can be. When they ramp things up, you can try to... just like in a lot of countries around the world, you can try to resist, for sure you can, but you got lots of your fellow peeps that will sell you up the river, rat you out, as we're seeing time and time again. So, like I say, you just got to be careful out there. Soy is a troll trying to suggest I use a gun against police. Yeah, can you keep that shit out of the chat? Like, really, though? Like, it's just so crazy. The fuck, man? People like that really annoy the living shit in me. Why? Like, take your crap somewhere else. There's all kinds of conspiracy nut bars out there. Go join them and do your thing. Not that I care. Just don't bring it to my channel. Your job is the care. Most Canadians do not know or understand that their liberties and rights are being taken away. If we really had them at all. No, you don't really have them. They make you, they want you to believe you do. Like I say, if you step out the bounds of what they allow you to do, then you find out that you don't have any rights. Anyway, I'm seeing that there's not a whole lot of people in the chat. I don't know. If I'm not getting better, let me get to the articles. Maybe we get some better stuff. Because, God, if I'm only inviting a bunch of fucking conspiracy nuts here, then I might have to restart all over again and just, I don't know. Am I going to have to make a whole new fucking channel or something? Because, I don't want conspiracy nuts coming here. Go away. Go the fuck away. I don't care if there's only 2 people watching, as long as there are 2 people that aren't, or advocating for fucking shooting police and shit in the chat. Like, fucking dumb down. Fucking dumb fucking people. Fuck off, like I say. So annoying. It's a problem with having to deal with the public in any ways. You got to deal with the fucking public, right? And everything that comes with it. For every one smart, intelligent person, we all know, right? For everyone, there's what? A dozen fucking dipshits to take their place or to drown out that one voice. Believe me, I know it very well. But normally, like I say, I don't try to, I usually allow quite a bit. Like I say, I'm all for freedom of speech, but like if you're just coming in here and advocating, if you're still in the chat, Reek, if you see anyone advocating for violence and shit, just fucking goddamn well, I don't know, whatever. you can do on as a moderator, because I'm not putting up with that crap. No, not putting up with it. Oh, there's this. Yeah. I wanted to bring this one. So this is a National Post article, headline, Canadian prescriptions for malaria drug with COVID-19 potential surge. Some for doctors' own use. The increased prescription of hydroxychloroquine as a coronavirus therapy is already creating shortages for patients with a proven need to take it. Anyways, this was Tom Blackwell. Yeah. April 7, 2020. Some Canadian doctors appear to have been snapping up the malaria drug for their own personal use against COVID-19, part of a surge of prescriptions for the medicine that is healthcare regulators across the country concerned. So, I mean, just that first statement alone, I mean, if the doctors are taking it, if doctors are only taking it for themselves, why is this constant rhetoric from those in the media, or a lot of those in the media, saying that, oh no, or Trump saying that this could possibly, right? Because I believe that's the thing that Trump was touting as well, right? This chloroquine or whatever. Like, so then if doctors are even taking it themselves, which is being reported in one of our established media outlets, right? If they're reporting that doctors are taking it themselves, yeah? Are you saying that all these doctors are just a bunch of dipshits or conspiracy theorists or Trump too? Right? This is why, like, I don't trust people in the media at all, or the people that are supposed to be the experts, because it's just nonstop conflicting reports and contradictions. So, like I say, that as well will be in the link of or down there in the description of the stream. And then I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, Canada, especially if you're a PPC supporter, although a lot of them don't pay much attention to my channel anymore. But if you are, if any of you are familiar with the fact that in Canada we have supply management for dairy, which is basically a cartel themselves, it's price fixing where you're like, the government controls and regulates and dictates, how much of these dairy products can produce. Well, even in the BBC, this was covered by our media outlets as well, but I figured let's use this one on the BBC. Coronavirus, why Canada dairy farmers are dumping milk. This was reported April 6, 2020. Dairy farmers in one of Canada's largest milk producing provinces are poised to dump millions of liters of milk due to coronavirus. Dairy farmers of Ontario have told farmers to get rid of raw milk to keep prices stable. But you see the very first part, they're to dump millions of liters of milk due to coronavirus. Like, what the fuck? Is it really because of coronavirus, or is it because government has everyone on lockdown, right? And there's too much supply to keep up with the reduced demand. I don't even understand if grocery stores are still open. That's the other part that doesn't even make a whole lot of sense. Grocery stores are still open. So if you drank milk last week, or last month, I should say, before all this crap started happening, why are you not buying that milk now? Why is there all of a sudden some massive decrease in milk consumption to the point where now you have dairy farmers in Ontario have told farmers to get rid of raw milk to keep prices stable and prevent oversupply? So they're dumping, rather than, think about millions of liters of milk. Think about how many people could really use that milk. But no, they're just going to dump it, pour it out. What a fucking waste. What an absolute waste, right? Even the cows would be like, what the fuck? Man, you've been working my tits for all these years, and you're just going to dump it out? Damn, if you're going to put me through that kind of crap, could you at least make it worthwhile, right? But no, apparently not. Just dump that shit out. This is what I mean when you have such a centrally planned type of economy. This is the kind of shit that actually happens and take place. And of course, they're going to try to blame the coronavirus. Everything nowadays, everything that goes wrong, now they just got this one size blanket or one size fits all excuse. It's coronavirus. Oh, anything goes wrong? Coronavirus. Let's just blame it on the coronavirus. What a fucking goddamn, what a fail, right? What a scapegoat to use the coronavirus for every excuse for stupidity such as this. The industry, here we go. The industry group says demand has crashed as restaurants and other bulk buyers shut due to COVID. So government caused that, right? Government. Coronavirus didn't say, the little microscopic little virus didn't say, hey, we got to shut down entire segments of the economy. Nope, coronavirus, as far as I know, doesn't speak English. So no, it wasn't coronavirus did it. It's governments, provincial, federal, and local governments that are forcing restaurants and people that want to keep their businesses open. They're the ones forcing them shut down. So let's stick to being truthful in this kind of reporting. They're Reuters. Well, the photos from Reuters, BBC, is, no, it wasn't the coronavirus. It's what government reaction to the coronavirus is. Some 500 farms have been asked to dump 5 million liters a week, according to a trade report. Wow. 5 million liters per week. Anyways, let me read a little bit more. The policy is a volte-face from last week when Dairy Farms of Ontario, which oversees nearly a third of Canada's dairies, had asked farmers to increase production. All right. What? You see, central planners, they can't figure out what the fuck... See, this is the thing. This is where the market and the price mechanism can figure this stuff out a whole lot better than central planners. But yeah, they said, well, you got to ramp it all up, and now they're dumping it all out. Once again, more big government fail. In its 55-year history, Dairy Farmers of Ontario has only once before had to ask producers to dispose of raw milk. Cheryl Smith, the association CEO, told BBC. Canadian dairy is produced under what is known as supply management system, which strictly controls production quotas and imports to support prices, right? To keep that price up. Price fixing. Now, if they talk about that from the oil cartels like OPEC, that's a bad thing for them to try to price fix, industries such as oil or gas, right? But, it's okay to do it for our dairy products in Canada. Like I say, this is all central planning bullshit, right? This is government intervention in the economy and what kind of failures it can bring. Just more examples of that. Like I say, that'll be in the description as well. And then there's this. 25% unemployment possible in Alberta. Kenny. So now this is what they're saying now in terms of, because, the price of oil, it's going back down again, folks. And, the oil patch is being hammered hard in addition to the, not just the price collapse, but now with the coronavirus excuse, right? And no pipelines. Basically, no infrastructure to get some of these products out, anyways. Because that's the thing, a pipeline you could send the stuff through a pipeline. You don't need very many people, right? And you could be getting that product out to market. But once again, big government failures. But 25%, think about that, 25%. I'd have to go back and check and see what the actual unemployment rate was during the Great Depression, because obviously it did vary. But 25%, that's 1 in 4 people. That's just a ridiculous number is what that is. That's just outrageous. 1 in 4 people to be unemployed. That cannot be sustained for very long. Okay, let me get back to chat and hopefully see if there's more people in there that's not talking shit. Good afternoon, Point Fire. Couldn't get your stream to load yesterday, but great feed today. Oh, thanks. I don't know what's going on with the streams. Tough guys also talk tough in the chat, but they never to someone's face. Well, that happens a lot too. Just shut up and watch the video. I'm not here to argue with Charles. Bruce. Norm Martin, Bruce County. Lake Huron banned campfires because of COVID. What? Good luck stopping me doing that. Banned campfires? What? Where does that even make sense? I'm telling you. Well, authoritarians, like I say, they're basically given a carte blanche, like a free pass to ramp up their authoritarians. And because that mindset is so prevalent from those who actually wanted to go into these positions these days, a lot of people with that authoritarian mindset, that control freaks, right? Some serious sociopaths out there now in among the ranks of the mindless order followers. And just talk to them anytime, and you realize they're vacuous, open, empty people. Like I say, they're just like a robot. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'd rather deal with artificial intelligence or a robot, because actually I'd get basically the same response, like zero empathy, zero emotion, zero understanding in terms of freedom and all this stuff. Actually, you could probably train a robot to understand liberty much more than a lot of these damn order followers. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. Okay. Over 500 people die in Canada. Okay, so we've seen that already. Actually, that's weird. That comment came up. Kenny said it in the speech to Albertans last night. The plan to get back to work involves testing workers before return to work. go watch. Yeah. Okay, back up here. Hey, James Petrowski, brother, keep keeping hugs from Nova Scotia and stay safe. Well, thanks a lot there, James Petrowski. Appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, I seen that WHO attempting to gain the authority to search homes for infected people. Don't think that my dog would be accommodative. Like I say, folks, lots of threats. Lots of threats are being ramped up these days. Muskoka Bear GC. Easy killer. Who's the killer? Hard facts. Liberty good. Dustnell. Hard facts. Liberty good for standing your ground. Okay, right on. Good rant. Bill Gates had talked the other night talking about chips and the vaccine. Yeah, I haven't been paying too much about the whole Bill Gates thing, but I don't doubt for a minute that some pretty crazy shit's being spewed around. Trudeau announces he's leaving his cottage and will show up at work today. Whatever. Wouldn't miss him if he never came back. No mention of the Japanese drug Avogen's success in China and Southeast Asia. Guess Trump has no shares. I don't know. I don't have room in my cart with all that toilet paper in 1966. Johnny Wayne. Oh, by the way, everyone hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. They've always used fear to push their agenda, understand the way things work, and you'll see this is a plan to reform the public into a new normal. Yes, and I agree that fear is the way that people are controlled. That is, I mean, people are they're much more readily and easily controlled if they're in a heightened state of fear. That's just a reality. That's just a reality. There's nothing outrageous or out of the norm of people that acknowledge that, right? That is just 100% truth. Can Pauly made videos showing Canadian drug makers stop making HCQ. Also just watched video from a biological scientist from Sweden that has been researched for 15 years. If you run out of toilet paper, just use your daily newspaper instead. There's no better use than that. Yeah, these newspapers all getting bailed out. I mean, look at that, right? Woo, just in time, too. They got all that money to use for propaganda purpose to spew the rhetoric that Trudeau wants them to do, right? Terry M. Cesis are disinfecting the clown car. Hey, what's going on, Leo? See Leo in the chat. Hey, Ben. Business will be forced next to test their employees before. Oh, I saw that one. 25% employment. Yeah, unemployment. That's just crazy, right? Trudeau created 1 million jobs. Trudeau pulled 1 million out of poverty. So after 2 million are now out of work, Canada's breaking even. What? Okay, first of all, Trudeau didn't create any jobs. Well, I mean, less government. I mean, if you're in government, you can create jobs in government. But no, businesses create jobs. Unless you're literally admitting, that's the thing. When people say that Trudeau creates jobs, you're literally admitting then I guess we do live in a full-on communist or socialist country. Because, you know, in socialist and communist countries, everybody works for government, right? So, unless you're talking about those million government jobs, but think about it. Government jobs, how do they get paid? By stealing from those of us who are productive in the private sector, the ones that actually produce everything in society, and redistribute it to those in the public sector, which don't really provide shit except, you know, mindless bureaucracy, you know, policy wonks, order followers, redundant layers of managers or mid-managers and mid-managers, and like I say, positions that are not just redundant, but as they're seeing today, a lot of them, they could all be going home as they are because they're non-essential and you'd never know they're gone. So if Trudeau created 1 million jobs that's filled with more of these bureaucrats or public sector workers that are unessential, not needed, and we could live without, well, that's to say that he wasted. I mean, imagine what it's going to cost to pay those 1 million people, right? That's squandered. Now, if maybe you don't care if they squander your money, you know, through the taxation you got to pay, or you're going to be forced to pay till the day you die, or your kids or your grandkids or like I say, all these future generations, although hopefully none of them will ever pay, right? But this is all these jobs that you're talking about, none of them were created by Trudeau. Trudeau didn't create, other than, like I say, government jobs. And government jobs are not a benefit to the private sector, most government jobs are a detriment because, once again, we're the ones that are forced to pay for them. So there's that. Sorry for the burst in the bubble, but I wouldn't give Trudeau one bit of credit for any jobs being created. That's for damn sure. Oh, wow. Yeah, by the way, if you're a status like that and you like Trudeau, chances are you're probably not going to like my stream. Warning. Let me give you a little warning in advance. I am the furthest thing away from a status as a person could possibly be. Thank you for your streams. Positivity is the best thing for positive morale. Yeah, you definitely got to keep your head up. I try to do what I can. You definitely got to be positive, but at the same time, you got to recognize the reality out there too. So it's kind of a hit and miss, right? Gary Schill, if the demand for milk is down and no one to buy it must milk. To buy it, they must milk the cows still for their own health. Or there's no calf to drink it. Well, I mean, if you have an overabundance of supply of something, what should be happening rather than dumping it, right? Rather than dumping that shit out and wasting it, sell it for a whole lot cheaper. Think about it. You could sell it for a whole lot cheaper. Because people, even if you say there's no demand, if people went to the store and you mean I get a liter of milk for 50 cents? Magically, well, look, automatically there's more demand. Why? Because people be like, oh, that's a hell of a deal. Right? That's that draw, right? That's the draw. Even if you were walking down the street somewhere and you didn't have no notion of buying a new lounge chair, right? Because they're typically out of your price range and you're just not in the economic situation to pay for it. But if you walk down and there was a lounge chair on for 1/10 of what it usually goes for, that might change your opinion. Maybe the lounge chair wasn't in demand prior, but once you've seen that price, well, now that demand changed, doesn't it, right? That's the beauty of the free market, right? And under a market type of scenario, it'd be better to make, even if it was 50 cents a liter, it'd probably be better to make 50 cents a liter than nothing, right? 50 cents is better than nothing. So, once again, but because government will prop them up and they'll just make that on the back end by more supply management and artificially inflating the prices, they're like, oh yeah, we can waste a billion or millions and millions of liters. Don't worry, we'll make that up. Just pure waste, a pure squandering, pure economic malfeasance. And as a business owner, people wouldn't do that, like I say, if they didn't realize that, government will bail me out some way. It's so much fail in this country. This country is it's in rough shape. It's in rough shape. And wow, it's so quickly, especially after the financial crisis 2008. In just 12 years, this country has gone to, mediocre, middle of the road. Still had some pretty good capitalism there, but there was definitely quite a creep of that socialism. But since the financial crisis, now everyone seems to want to go into the full-on socialism because government and their policies has destroyed, because there's so much intervention in the economy and people are micromanaged so much, as people have just most people have just given up, right? Even the most ambitious and those with entrepreneurial zeal is government basically has forced everyone down to, whatever. Let me just put up my arms and surrender and give me my check, right? Just give me my check. I give up. Just give me my check. What the fuck? Yeah, Canada's fallen far, folks. Far. Going to take 3 to 6 weeks for any money to arrive. Yeah, I'm never going to see any money, so I'm not holding my breath. Nor am I looking for a handout from the government anyways. Although I recognize a lot of my fellow Canadians, and I'm not saying, I'm not going to make that call, because like I say, I've even said to myself, I'm not going to say you're a bad person for do so, because like I say, even myself, even if I was eligible, but I'm not, because what I do, right? I can still get my $100 from YouTube. So yes, I only get not even $100 a month, but because I don't have anyways, yeah, I ain't going to see shit. The wife's still working. She ain't going to see shit. So we're not going to gain any advantage of this or benefit from this. But like I say, even if we were, would I understand, or would I myself even take it? I don't know. Like I say, that'd be something I'd have to be put exactly in that position to know what kind of decision I would actually make. I want to read the bottom line, because if it means they're just going to hold that over me and fuck me over at some point in time in the future, or I'd say you keep your goddamn money, right? But that's the other thing too, is who's paying for this? Well, who's paying for it? I mean, that's the thing. When you're on the receiving end of government largesse, you don't really think about those things, right? But I mean, it's got to be paid for by someone, so there's that too. But I understand why people will. government put you out of a job. But that's the thing. Government put you out of a job, and now you got to get money from. Anyways, yeah. Good luck for everyone. Like I say, you're gonna have to reckon with all this for the rest of your life too. Everyone. Like I say, I'm not saying you're responsible. Although if you voted for the establishment parties over the last 4 or 5 decades, then actually you are partially responsible for that. So like I say, it's a tough thing all around, and I understand why a lot of people will end up taking that. But money doesn't grow on trees. Somebody's gonna have to pay for it at some point in time. By then, businesses will be bankrupt and closed down for good. Well, a lot of them will, for sure. But like I say, big corporations, they're great. They're excited. Especially the big-time investors, they're like every small to medium business. They're like, oh, we'll just hoover them babies up, right? Once they recapitalize the market with all this printed money, right? Oh, they just stimulate the economy, turn the print press off, and these big corporations will come in and swoop up all those failed businesses that went bankrupt. And then it's like, well, we don't have to worry about competition. And once again, because all the small and medium businesses that could have potentially challenged us at some point in time in the future, where they're all gone by the wayside, and we own them now. So once again, there's that. Yep, fire ban in my area as well. So wet and snow that I could not start a fire for my property. That's the thing. If you're covered around snow and they're saying you're not allowed to, have a fire, like, once again, and the person that would tell you that let's say comes to your house or calls you on the phones, like, and ask them, when you get that person, right, that says, oh, you can't have a fire, and you tell them, well, yeah, but I'm in a place where I have this little fire pit and it's covered with like a foot deep of snow all around it, and I got a big backyard. Let's say mine, because I'm just using mine for an example, because yeah, mine's full of snow too, right? It's like there's snow everywhere for at least 30, 40 feet on all sides from my fire pit. So what are you going to burn, right? And all the trees and the woods, everything's wet and moist and damp out there. So what are you going to do? But they would say, let's just following orders, just doing what I'm told, which means you better do what I tell you, right? It's just the mindless order follower, right? That's what we're living with today, is a bunch of fucking people that are so thoroughly indoctrinated into the cult of statism that they're just order followers, right? And they don't give a shit if it makes sense. They don't give a shit about any of this. Even if you say, well, wait a minute, I was just walking my dog. There's nobody here, right? I just walked across the soccer field because I live right over there, and if I go around this way, it takes way, way long. And actually, there's more people that walk along the sidewalks along there. So I thought I was actually doing better by social distancing by cutting across this soccer field. But if Mr. the Gestapo sees you, well, you don't have permission to cross across this soccer field there, boy. You're supposed to be home and out indoors. Here, let me write you a ticket. That you can take to pay at your local courthouse. Oh, no, that's right, too. A lot of the courthouses are shut down. So what do you... Like I say, it's just fucking insane. But yeah. Yes, folks, we're surrounded by order followers. And the reason why that is because nobody wants to think critically about what it is to be free or to defend their liberties. Everyone looks towards government and those in the media to tell them how to think about this thing, which means you're just going to be failed forever and ever and ever. Because those aren't the people that are going to tell you the kind of things that I'm going to tell you. Campgrounds are closed to prevent gatherings, not fires. Either way, what the hell's wrong with people? If people want to go out to a campground, think about a campground, especially a campground. I love the example of the campground because I've been to many campgrounds. I was big time into camping when me and my wife were raising the kids. Loved going camping. We kept probably every campground in all the Atlantic provinces, right? Well, I mean, not Newfoundland per se, but Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick. But yeah, usually when you go to a campground, you got the campground and then you're surrounded by usually a wooded area, right? But yet they're worried about people might get together. But the people that would go out there would be people that wanted to voluntarily go out there. Right? So what the hell? Now, I would suggest that you should have signs set up at the park to say, practice your social distancing, wear a mask if you choose to, or, all the good things that we should do to tell people to protect themselves or anyone else from contacting this virus. But, yeah, to shut down all the parks, tell people you're not allowed to go to the park, yeah, I'm totally against that kind of shit, obviously. People get addicted to power. Oh, by the way, Mr. Grinch, I remember now, not Mr. G. Rich, Mr. Grinch. I did answer your question that you posed to me. What was it on? Oh, my email, Proton mail. I answered that question, And I gave you the link, by the way, too, in that reply. So, and thanks again, Mr. Grinch. Gary Schill, that's very correct about the cows. Okay. Some people don't know that's for us to inform each other. Muskoka, I went to look at a tile job yesterday, and the guy wouldn't shake my hand to close the deal because of virus. Well, I mean, that's some people, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, person being a little bit, cautious. Guess you can't really be too upset about that. Trudeau and his entire government dropped the ball on this whole. Yes, they did. They sure did. That's a good thing, Bennett, because you have brains. Statists don't. Oh, thanks, Edgar Forrester. No, they don't, because if they actually had brains and they used them in a proper manner where they were thinking critically, they wouldn't be statists, right? Because you can't, right? You can't be a statist, because a statist is people that believe in such mystical things. Like, they're to believe that these people in government have some legitimate authority to dictate and control every aspect of your life, or to take any portion of your income against your will and say, oh, no, I'm allowed. Oh, we just call it taxation, right? Yeah, you are obviously someone that's not thinking at all critically if you're a statist. Just like if you're one of those religious zealots that believes the earth is 6,000 years old. You're not thinking critically. You're thinking in magical thinking, in magical terms. It's all fictional. It's all fictional constructs and not based in any reality, which is scary when you deal with that many people that are alive in this world today that don't even know how to function and deal with reality. They live constantly in this state of some false utopia, which, like I say, it's just so odd, especially to see it so prevalent. Love to stay and listen to the rest, but it's time to risk an $800 to walk my dog at the park. See you next time. Well, yeah, take it easy there, Damien Quinn. Appreciate that. Like I say, yeah, that'd be a very expensive dog walk for sure. So be careful out there. How about the reptilian part of the brain and how the MSN and the WHO are working them each and every day? Of course, yeah, that's what they're doing, right? It is fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight. And the fight, they realize they've beaten the fight out of most people, and most people, their flight mechanism or response basically just sends them into the arms of government. So they like the flight response much better, right? But the fight's fine because they got lots of order followers that will deal with the ones that want to fight. So no matter what, government wins in either scenario, right? How about scare tactics? Yeah, 247. Yeah, keeping everyone in this massive heightened state. Should people take the crisis benefit or hold off another week? Like I say, I won't tell anyone what to do, because especially, I would never suggest. Here's the thing. It is obviously, as we all know, it's obviously not right to take money that's not yours, because government can say, but then again, government has stolen from you too, right? Throughout the course of your life. So you could always tell yourself that, well, I'm just trying to get back what's mine. Although in reality, they stole that, and what they stole that's already been long gone and squandered. But I mean, like I say, because we do function in a statist environment where they do take, huge chunks of your income, take it. And especially if you need it, right? If you can't get through life, or if you're doing really, if you're having hard times financially, and especially if you have lost your job or your occupation as a result, then yes, I would never say that you're a bad person for wanting to maintain any semblance of your, not just your lifestyle, but be able to keep the roof over your head and some food in your belly. Like I say, I would not judge anyone, but I would definitely, when they're sending out these papers, just kind of read the fine print or get to know what, because these programs, like I say, government's not offering these programs. Nothing is free. So I would at least want to know what kind of strings are attached to these programs at the very least, right? But once again, I do want to reiterate, I am not going to say one thing negative to anyone that definitely needs this as a consequence of government putting you out of work. But if you're someone that's just going to scam the system, then that's wrong anyways, right? But if you definitely need it, then do your thing. Okay. I see some dipshits in here. All right, let's get to the messages here. This is the hypocrisy of the supply. Oh, yeah. They could give it to the food banks and folks that need it. Instead, they would rather keep the, and profit margins high. Yeah, people wake up. Exactly. That's exactly true, Leo. Yeah, for sure. It's a bunch of scammers. They have stripped us of so much as far as our rights and freedoms. We don't even have free speech anymore. And that's the thing. When you especially I worry about the younger people, because once you've grown up where all your rights are basically stripped away almost entirely, then you don't know the difference. Like, someone raised in captivity, they're like, what are you talking about? This is normal, isn't it? Right? And that's basically what each generation is being born and having to deal with now, is they've been raised into more and more of towards that captivity. So, what are we, 4 generations removed now, or roughly and around there from, when they started destroying the rights, during World War I or so. I mean, 100 years later or so, look at how many of our inherent and inalienable rights have denied or been suppressed or infringed upon, and people continually are willing to accept it. And the reason why they're willing to accept it is because the people that are alive today don't really understand how much more freer people were 100 years ago. Laws have only gotten worse, not less. There's more laws on the book than there was 100 years ago, not less, right? So it's a constant, ever-expanding state and encroachment on our liberties and our freedoms. But because the people who are alive today didn't get to experience, that increased amount of freedoms that existed 100 years ago, they don't recognize the decrease. So because it's so gradual over time, which is, once again, is rough. Okay, troll, yeah. Some trolls. Like I say, I'm getting a few trolls out there, folks. Like, I don't know what it is. That's why I wonder, is some of the people, and I've always suspected anyways, of course, some of the order followers and the CSIS, I'm sure, I'm on some list somewhere where people fucking in the military or these order followers, follow my channel. I don't know why, right? Just using words. I don't advocate. I'm a libertarian. It's not like I advocate for violence or anything. But anyways, yeah, there's always, I'm getting, like I say, and I don't know if you guys or gals have seen my post, but I even put on there, like, it's pretty rough when the one in a gazillion people out there that's actually telling you, like, I respect your rights, freedoms, liberties, we're the ones that are being attacked, right? But if I said, oh yeah, we should lock everything down, call everyone or send everyone home, cause them to lose their jobs, then people be like, oh yeah, you're a hero, Bennett. What the fuck? Like, we live in a really Orwellian world, like I say, when the people that are saying, no, you shouldn't have your rights or freedoms infringed or denied, and we're said, and constantly being told, well, you shut the fuck up, asshole. I like my liberties taken away. Really, though? Really? Do you really? People are weird. So you got to be careful what kind of people you're dealing with. And that's the thing. I don't know, because most people even on social media don't use their real face or profile picture. Who you talking about? For who? Where'd everyone go? Okay, there we go. I guess my question is beneath you. Have a nice day, but I'm at Vito Anthony D. I'm not sure where that question was. Vito Anthony D. I don't see the question. I usually answer any question. I don't know. I just didn't see a question. Okay. Even if that were to be true, it doesn't mean a person's opinion are not valid. Oh, people's opinions are valid. Like, there's, you're on certain things, right? Some things can be proven to be objectively true, though, right? So, gravity exists. Yeah. If someone said no, then their opinion isn't valid, is it, right? Taxation is theft, and they say, no, it's not. I mean, they can have that opinion. They can hold that opinion because they've been taught to have that opinion, but they're wrong. So, I mean, are you allowed to say it? Are you entitled to say it? Of course you are. But it's not valid. You're allowed to, completely under freedom of speech. You say all you want. You can say that I ride unicorns and I identify as a fairy and I have a magic wand. Go ahead. Doesn't mean it's valid, though. right? So yes, opinions totally. People should have opinions. As far as if they're valid or not, well, that depends on if it's an objective claim or a subjective claim. Subjective claim is blue is a nice color. Well, that's completely subjective. So it could be true, it could be false. It's subjective. I might think it is. You might think it's not. We're both. Neither one of us is right or wrong because it's subjective and it's preference based. But once again, is murder wrong? Murder, like, so killing people, not self-defense. I'm talking actually killing someone, and turning someone into a victim that hasn't done anything to you. Not like if you were defending yourself, totally different. I'm talking murder, preemptive murder or something like that. Is that wrong? Yes. Some people might say, oh no, it's okay to kill people, murder them just for the hell of it, right? Well, I would say you might hold that opinion, but is it valid? No. Because like I say, if we're going to have anything called morals or principles or even like laws, like if there's going to be anything remotely resembling justice, then it has to be universal. If it's not universal, then it's not objective, then it's subjective, and then then it's validity of your opinion doesn't really matter, right? But since I'm a libertarian, I'm talking about government. I'm talking about everything relating to liberty. So there are objective claims relating to liberty that, yes, I will not just take that stance, not just because it's my preference or my opinion, but because it's legit, it's objective, and 2 + 2 = 4. I'm still I got 8 still. I have having a fire, 80 acres rural. Oh, 80 acres. Oh, yeah. Well, what it is, like I say, I'm trying to charge anyone that comes on. I will charge anyone that comes on with trespassing. Well, if you own property, you have that right? Okay. They're trying, I would imagine, with banning fires or try to use that keep people from gathering. I couldn't even find a question from Vito. Oh, yeah, I didn't see one either, actually. I'm a drug dealer. Hey, there's lots of them that wear white lab coats. So which one are you talking about? Right? I don't know. The legal, the government approved one, or the one that the government says you're not allowed to do it, right? Because there's lots of drug dealers. Some the government claims are legit. Some they say are not. England is also funny. Derbyshire police drone people walking. Yeah, I seen that. Meanwhile, in London, they cut back the underground, forcing more people onto less cars. Wow. What are your thoughts, CL, on all these bans on different platforms as to what you can say about the virus and what's going on? The fact that government wants to make legislation to make this talk illegal. I'm completely, obviously, I'm an advocate of freedom of speech. And yeah, I think it's terrible that these platforms are doing such thing. And if I get to the point where, I'm pretty sure I'm already being suppressed greatly, I would suggest. But if it gets to the point where I can't even say anything, then I'll use alternative, because we do have alternative options out there, right? Now, streaming's a little bit different because I would like I have a BitChute channel, but I can't stream to BitChute. I would love to be able to stream to BitChute, but I can't, unfortunately, unless anyone knows that there's a way to do so. But as far as I know, you can't. But yeah, if they get to the point where they're literally shutting down our ability to speak freely in any way, then we're all in a lot of trouble, right? According to the BCF's website. Oh, okay. They are told to dump milk because of quotas. Yeah. Closing, no money, no market, culling herds, rotting in the fields, dump eggs. Why? No carton production. I digress. Rock on. Wow. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that there, Shaky Pete. Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible. Because, lots of people, like I say, lots of people could really use some of those products, right? All that stuff that's being thrown out. Be a lot of poor people in this country that would really, really like to have some of those things, maybe at a much greatly reduced price. Inside word is central banks will absorb the debt. Well, yeah, that's what they say, but that's the thing. What is a central bank, right? It's basically a government legislation. Whether you call it the Bank Act, the Canada Bank Act, or in the U.S. the Federal Reserve Act. They just basically create their own little. It's illegal, right? Well, I mean, because they're the ones that write the laws, and of course it's legal. But it's counterfeiting. It's control and manipulation of the currency by a central planner, by a central entity. that gets to dictate and determine what the productivity, what the value of your currency that you use, which, when you work, your labor is measured in our Canadian dollar. When you're getting paid, your value, the value of your labor and everything you provided is based on, let's say you make $20 an hour, so that's $20 an hour. If the government keeps printing the money, if the central bank, keeps printing the money, then it keeps devaluing that currency, which is what's happening all the time, which is why you see inflation constantly outstripping your wages, then you are being arbitrarily robbed. It's a tax, but it's a stealth tax constantly. So is taxing legit? No, because taxation is theft. Once again, right? Hashtag taxation is theft. Same with artificially introduced inflation by a central planner or a central bank as a consequence or result of devaluing the currency by printing it on a printing press, which is normally called counterfeiting. So that's all illegitimate. It all should be deemed illegal, but because government is the one that wrote the legislation that created these central banks in the first place, of course they deem it legit, right? If you ask a thief, if you catch a thief stealing and you ask them because you're going to rely on them being trustworthy, and you say, "Did you steal that?" And the thief says, "No, I didn't. No, I borrowed that from a friend and I'm going to give it back later on." Well, if you're foolish or naive enough to believe that, then shame on you. But yeah, I don't believe just because someone says they wear a $5,000 pinstripe suit, let's say, and they got what's called a printing press, and they're called the Bank of Canada. I don't believe that counterfeiting the currency should be legit for anybody, right? I don't make exceptions. That's the point of legality and principles, laws, and morality is, for them to be foundational means there can't be contradictions and there can't be exceptions. Once there's an exception, right? That's where you get big government. That's where you get central banks. And that's where you get a lot of people that think that it's legitimate to have a central bank in the first place. It's completely illegitimate to have a central bank. Anyways, but yeah, that's just my rant on that. Because yeah, I enjoy talking about those central bank things because, like I say, it's such a corrupting institution, and has been proven. Even people like Alan Greenspan. Where is it? Yeah, I've got the Alan Greenspan book here. But even some of these central bankers or formal central bankers, even Ben Bernanke has had to admit, and they've basically all had to admit, that central banks, Stephen Poles even admitted that central bank policy is the one that's greatly affecting our housing market. And of course it is. Of course it is. Which is, making these houses at ridiculous valuations in comparison. Because if the interest rates weren't at these rock bottom prices, the housing market would not be anywhere near where it's at today. That's just a reality, folks. That is just a reality. So a central bank is a huge contributor to this massively overinflated bubble we call the Canadian housing market, right? And they've admitted it. It's all on tape. I've actually recorded this stuff. It's in my videos. Just type in central bank. You'll find it on one of my videos. And yeah, where they've had to admit it. Like I say, Ben Bernanke, Alan Greenspan. But because most people aren't privy to this knowledge, they don't know. Most people, like I say, they don't know. Most people are walking around as ignorant as shit, have no clue about anything, but everyone likes to pretend they're experts. Like, you find that out real quick as soon as you sit down and talk with them, which is why I like to have conversations with people face to face when they challenge my narrative or my position or anything. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, you're wrong." It's like, okay, well, come on to my channel and we'll talk. We'll find out who's competent just by me and you having a conversation. I'll be able to dig down real quick if you truly know anything. Because chances are you've only repeated or regurgitate. Most of the people that I have a conversation or an informal debate with, as soon as you get even a couple minutes, you're like, "Oh, you're just repeating what you've been told." You're not thinking critically. You're just someone that basically, like, you're just like, you got a tape recorder, you hit play every time. Someone that told you to think something, it's like, oh, rather than you say it, you just hit play on your recorder. It's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to respond in. Well, why don't you use your brain and think about it critically? Because then you'll probably come to a better understanding if it even makes sense in your own mind, right? But most people don't. They just repeat and regurgitate what's been jammed in their head by their thought leaders or their political masters, which is why, like I say, I'm very secure to challenge pretty much anyone. Because when you have truth on your side, when you do think critically and you use objective logic and reasoned argument, then bring it on. Because, like I say, the people that are going to try to counter what I got to say aren't going to be bringing that. Or if they think they do, well, I'll be able to prove them in short order that they're not. Okay, scrolling down. All right. See some shit still going on there, huh? Prior to all this, I thought a lot of people were pretty docile. Didn't know it was this bad. Well, one thing, like I say, this will do for a lot of people is show you just how bad things were, and maybe help some people get up to speed. Because, like I say, people like myself have been trying to, and even people like Rika and stuff, been trying to warn people for a long time. I mean, myself, like I say, I go all the way back to, what was it, to 2008. Right? The first financial crisis. So like 12 years later. And like I say, we're still functioning with a few hundred people that pay attention to this stuff. It's crazy. Okay. There, I'm back down here now, folks. Trying to get through these comments. England is all okay. All right, now we're back in a good spot here. Okay, not just weird, they are stupid, sad, but true. Prior to this, I thought a lot of people were pretty okay, now I'm back where I was. Okay. Okay. Need to inform the people about Event 201. Yeah, I haven't even got into that Event 201. I'm probably going to have to check that out, because I hear people mention that quite a bit. Maybe I'll cover that in an upcoming stream. Event 201. Actually, let me write that down. Check into Event 201. Just see what it's all about, right? Curiosity. Made Canada still full stream ahead with assisted dying. Some procedures, ventilators are used. Is there a shortage? How come the guy who wants to off himself gets priority? I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing that assisted dying, does that really have potential, right? To be used for, not such great reasons, right? I mean, and once you get a population of people that have accepted that, right? Because I'm not even against it entirely. Of course, people should be able to, especially if you're suffering something fierce. Where are we at here? Corporations who receive a bailout. Employment insurance, 2,000 hitting tax. 2,000. Oh, yeah. Well, like I say, someone's got to pay for it, right? Corporations will receive a bailout. Small businesses and entrepreneurs will receive deeper debt. Greenspan, we can always print more money, but we can't guarantee the purchasing power. Hyperinflation. Yeah. It's the thing. Eventually, right? They're playing these games that are all, and they all admit too that they're all in uncharted territory. And really what it comes down to at the end of the day, when they say they don't know how long they'll be able to maintain it, because how they maintain it is by people allowing it, right? Until the people wake up and realize that it's basically they're all counterfeiting money, devaluing your purchasing power, destroying the productivity of your labor and the valuation of all that stuff. And I mean, it goes out and expands to so many areas of our life. Because think about it, we use money for so many things. So when the central bank and interest rates, right, and how that affects, like I say, not just the housing market, but so many other aspects in terms of the economy is, central banks are screwing everything up, which is why you don't want anything to have a central bank, or don't want to have a central bank. But, right now they seem to have found a way to try to avoid some of that hyperinflation. I guess a lot of it is just because the money's stashed in offshore accounts and it's not actually being spent, or it's being spent. That's the other thing, folks, you got to take into account too. If you're the Federal Reserve and you print a whole lot of money, in US dollars, as long as that money is not spent in U.S., in America, let's say you use that for some of these emerging countries or these third world countries, well, they'll get the inflation, but they might actually want that kind of inflation, right? Right? Or growth, right? So it just depends. That's the thing with this kind of globalism and all these central banks working in conjunction with each other. That's why they have all those big meetings and stuff, right? Yeah, you might not see that inflation if the central bank isn't using the money to stimulate. Why do you think they said, like even Barack Obama, they were trying to say they were going to do all these ramped up spending and all these infrastructure projects, just like in Canada under Trudeau. Trudeau said, oh, we're going to set up our own infrastructure bank and have all these shovel in the ground projects. Where are they? They don't exist. Why? Because that would mean there would be a whole lot of, increased economic activity, which would actually show, which means they'd have to use some of that printed money to pay for it all, right? Which then would get spent in the economy, which would then bid up all the price of everything because more people would have money to spend, even though that money is devalued, but they still have more than they had yesterday. So once again, there would be inflation if they actually did anything with it that was productive. No, the inflation predominantly is going to government workers, corporations, share buybacks. That stimulus money is not trickling down to you and I in the form of wage increases that are above or out ahead of inflation. Because if it did, then you would actually see genuine inflation in many different areas of the economy, right? But like I say, because they have the ability to central plan and micromanage how it all, and as long as they can do so, and as long as most people don't have any clue what the hell is going on, then I guess the way they look at it is, hey, they didn't even need a business cycle, right? Which is a typical thing in Western style capitalism is, but there wasn't even, this is, I guess what they're going to use this as this is the business cycle? Well, it's just artificial, right? It's not a genuine business cycle. It's just artificial just because of the coronavirus, or basically imposed by central banks and governments because they're the ones that's creating the destruction of the economy. But like I say, folks, until people get to learn these things, it's just people like you and I, talking amongst each other, which I've said so many times before. It's good. I'm happy to have these conversations with everyone, but there's 37 million more Canadians out there that really need to learn this stuff. Well, maybe not so much the ones under that are still in grade school. It might give them a few more years before they have to learn about this stuff. But anyways. Also might check Rockefeller 2010, lockstep. Is there make-believe mock-up war games BS? Corey V, make sure you practice government-recommended antisocial behavior with that wheelbarrow. Yeah. Holy Greenspan is still alive. Is he? I never even checked to see if he is actually. But hey, what's going on, Gato? Nice seeing you in the chat. Reverend Jim Jones, I'm contemplating moving my money to Credit Suisse Bank now, actually. Well, they must, I think Credit Suisse, they must give you something, right, in terms of return. Because that's the thing, if you got money in any bank right now, you're not, because interest rates are lower than inflation, although, inflation right now is going to probably, take a temporary reprieve, right? Although I don't expect it to be too long because things will happen where prices will start outstripping in some areas anyway. But having money in any bank right now is, of course, not much. It's maybe a tiny bit better than having it stuffed under your couch, right? But I mean, the return you're getting is you're still seeing your purchasing power devalued. If you're getting 0.5% interest rate or 1% interest rate, and inflation is much higher than that, well, just simple math is you're still losing out, right? But I hear you. Hey, if they're better than, that's what everyone's doing today is, where's the safe haven? Well, there is no such thing as a safe haven anymore, other than tangible things that actually do have intrinsic value and will at least retain that value while they're destroying the currency, things like gold and silver. But other than that, or I guess some of these cryptocurrencies are seemingly working out for some. But other than that, yeah, if you're into any currencies that are fiat currencies these days, that you're being ripped off every day, all day, every day. Is Trump planning a major event? You do streams every day now. It almost seems like that way, doesn't it, Gato? It's just there's so much to cover, and I want to make sure that I am making sure that, like I say, at some point in time, I'll have to go, maybe in the future and maybe break these things up. But I just want to cover as many things as possible because there's so much information that we're all going to need to draw on, once this starts to subside, because no one can keep on top of the massive amount of information that we're being inundated with daily. So to me, it's once again, it's a way to keep an archive and keep, plus I get to interact with all the great people that come to my stream. So I'm happy to do so. And like I say, it's good for us to talk about this stuff and get some of these things out in the open anyways. Things with negative interest rates may be coming soon. Well, yeah, Grendel snap. Well, they already did that in Japan and Europe, headed into negative interest rates. Imagine that. Imagine wait till the point where you get like a generation growing up thinking that having negative interest rates is normal. Can you imagine at some point in time, like, can you imagine taking someone from, let's say, the silent generation, if they're still around? Yeah, there'd probably be a few of them. And, maybe talk to, I don't know, when, if they're still alive, maybe after Gen Z has their kids and they've all grown up under negative interest rates. Can you imagine that conversation? Wait, what? Wait, you mean you pay a bank money to keep your money in their bank? Well, that's completely exact opposite. It used to be that they paid me interest for the luxury of me putting my money in their banking institution that they can turn around and lend out to other people and make more money off them. But you mean you actually have to pay them? Like, where does that make sense, right? But who knows? Maybe someday that time will come, right? If things don't change, that may very well come to fruition where you have generations growing up thinking that having negative interest rates, paying a bank for the luxury of holding on to your cash becomes normal. Wouldn't even surprise me at this point in time. Oh, and by the way, hey, Bennett, howdy. Hey, what's going on, Bernard Hutchinson? Cash still better than digital numbers on a computer. Yeah. Well, it is, because the digital numbers can be taken, they wiped out a lot quicker than they can by the constant erosion through inflation and the monetary system. So I would agree with you there, Gary. Busy as usual, short coffee break, then back to work. Right on. Ask Me Anything Part 3, Industry Studios. Yeah, there'll be more of these coming up, no doubt. I try following my talks, mind blowing. Yeah, it is crazy. It is. It's wild stuff for sure, John Ander. A lot of crazy stuff happening out there. Can you imagine the banks taking 1% to keep your money? Buy a gun and put it in silver under your mattress. Thanks. I've got acres ready to grow cannabis, owned and ready. Well, yes, that's the thing with Canada. Be careful, because you have to get government permission for that, right? Gotta get a government official approved license to do that, unless you're just going to grow 4 plants. But anyways, but do your thing. I would just say maybe not. Anyways, thanks to communism, globalism. Rika Darling's How Things in Your Hood. Okay. Who would have thought that borrowing money would be cheaper than saving, right? I know. Shut up. Oh, shut up. Shutting up. Shut up. Shutting up. Shut up. Shutting up. Yeah, it's crazy, right? We truly live in an upside down Orwellian world these days. Grenda Snap, my first stock. That was when I came back to Canada and wanted to go fish and told I needed a fishing license. Thought it was a joke. No, it's not a joke. For investment. Trudeau claims on air he has a solution to COVID-19, but sounds like he's not saying everything. Yeah, no doubt. Anyways, let me get back to, like I say, because I want to make sure I'm covering all these articles. So once again, here's another example. This one's out of CBC News Politics. Doctors, nurses demand government fill unacceptable gaps in protective gear on front lines. So healthcare workers say they feel anxious and betrayed by lack of masks, gowns, and other gear. So once again, that's government responsibility. If you work in the medical field, that because you work for government is what is your employer, and they're the ones that are supposed to provide for this stuff for you, right? Make sure that stuff is readily available. But once even here is showing that the government has failed you. This was reported on April 7th, 2020 by Kathleen Harris. So yeah, even the doctors or nurses are saying, like, this is actually unacceptable. That's what they're saying. For you to put us in this particular position and so vulnerable at this point in time, government failure, once again. But yet people still want to rely or trust government, to help them during this difficult situation. Listen, government is the worst. People that keep turning towards government, well, hopefully some of these doctors and nurses and these people in the healthcare field will finally, hopefully, at some point in time, come to the realization is, you folks need to figure out a way to get some private practices and some accountability in this fucking country, especially when it comes to the health field or healthcare system at all, because when it's run by government, there's no accountability. There is no accountability. What are you going to do, sue the government even, right? Doctors are paid by government largesse. Let's say all the doctors get together and sue the government. It's like, well, who's all paying? Well, no one in government pays for any of this stuff. That's all the taxpayer, right? So, once again, the system is set up that the wrong people are never properly disincentivized for doing the wrong thing. It's always those of us in the private sector that got to pay the failures for all layers of government, or those who are part and parcel of it. So sorry, folks, but once again, just more truth. And here's another one. This one's out of the National Post. Anything can be COVID-19. So I don't know if you're hearing about this stuff, folks. This at least is being reported in the National Post, so at least people can see that, even the established media outlets are reporting on this stuff today. So they can't use the old conspiracy theory label, right, to try to deny what you're saying. Anything can be COVID-19. As pandemic grinds on, doctors find early definitions of disease were too narrow. We're seeing so many strange presentations of this that basically we're in a state where almost anybody coming in with anything is a potential COVID case, right? So once again, I don't know if you heard of this, but a lot of people are being told that whether they died or they're suffering, if there's anything at all that's happening, and maybe they have the potential of having coronavirus, because that's another thing. They're not even having to prove that the person has coronavirus, just that they suspect it might be. So let's say you go and you have like a cough, maybe a couple of your symptoms are akin to what COVID symptoms would be. Well, they'll just, once again, they're basically being told, well, we'll just chalk that up as coronavirus or COVID-19, which it could be just the flu, could be just a cold, could be just a smoker's cough. It could be lots and lots of things, right? But basically now is, and once again, who sets up those definitions? Well, central planners, government, the policymakers, or those who are the administrators or policy setters in the hospitals or the healthcare, which once again, I repeat, government, because they all work for government. So at the end of the day, government is the one that's failing here. And maybe that might be the reason why people are saying, oh, there's a lot more cases. Well, maybe not actually. Maybe there's actually less cases. You don't know for sure that there's a lot more cases because people aren't being tested, although there might, that's definitely a possibility. But let's hold off on this pretense that we all can just create some hypothetical scenario and think that we have the answers. The answers are going to take quite a while before any of us start to learn. And why? Because like I say, we're seeing constant conflicting reports. Here suggests that might be a whole lot of people that are being diagnosed with COVID that don't actually have COVID. So once again, just another, once again, not saying one or the other. I'm not saying which you should believe. I'm just saying there are different perspectives and opinions out there. Okay, he says, so this one I already covered about the civil liberties groups warned of unfair and arbitrary law enforcement, about the fines, so I won't go into that again. But listen to this. This is out of the Financial Post. Once again, what an Orwellian world we live. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Headline on the Financial Post. This one's a little older. I've been saving it for a little while. I forgot to get to it, actually. Debt nation. Canada borrowed itself into a tough spot. Now it must borrow its way out of coronavirus crisis. To ensure indebted Canadians are paying their bills and the economy comes out on solid footing, governments need to pack on more debt. Is that you, John Maynard Keynes? I thought you were dead long ago. Oh, that's right, too. We're all Keynesians now. Well, not all. Hashtag not all. Not I. That's for sure. But that's just Keynesianism, right? Oh, we're in debt. And people aren't spending because I guess they're just too indebted. And so we're just going to have to borrow more and make more debt. And somehow that's going to bring about prosperity. It'll come sometime in the future. It's like, well, when the hell's that time ever come? When does that time ever come? We're waiting. Well, after the financial crisis, right? They basically gave this same kind of stimulus. Oh, we got to stimulate the economy. Well, Where's all this growth, real economic growth? And I'm not talking about the speculative growth where everyone's living off that proverbial gold mine called their house these days and taking all those HELOC loans and only getting wage increases that are basically under or even just barely aligned with inflation, so you're never getting ahead or out front. Where's all this prosperity? Quantitative easing 1, QE1, QE2, QE3, the twist. And now we're into QE4, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars printed to stimulate the economy, and everyone's still massively indebted, and nobody's really any better off, except for that, that 1 or that 0.1% of people who, are part and parcel of the connected class and get that stuff very early on, that stimulus very early on before, it's permeated into the economy in any way and been devalued, right? Or you've seen the loss of your purchasing power. So there's that small, like I say, the connected class, the corporate world, the banksters, big government, they're the ones that are benefiting, and they're the ones that would put forth a ridiculous, foolish notion. I mean, only someone that thinks that money just grows on trees or you can just print yourself out of economic trouble, right? I mean, only people in that kind of environment could think in such a ridiculous way. But I just find it odd when I see it reported on publications such as the Financial Post. Like, holy shit, thank God there's people like John Robson and Terrence Corcoran and stuff that contribute there, because they would be debunking this stuff. And I get it, you got to allow even the Keynesians to say what's on their mind, but I mean, just unbelievable. Canada's too much into debt, so how are we going to get her out? We're just going to have to dig debt a little more. That you must have seen the meme, like where you're down, like the guy's dug a ditch and he's way down, 6 feet down or whatever. And, that represents his debt, how far he is in debt. It's like, well, what they're saying is, pick up or not just dig more, but ramp up the speed. Dig deeper. It's like, well, you really think you're getting any closer to the top or escape by digging yourself even further into debt? I sure the hell don't think so. But Keynesians, right? Well, what John Maynard Keynes say himself? Oh, yeah, in the end, we're all dead. Because like I say, they just expect to be able to pass all this off onto future and successive generations, which I don't even think Keynes had kids, so what do he care, right? But yeah, that's what that really means, folks. But yeah, how do you get yourself out of debt? Get more debt. Add more debt. Just keep digging, Canada. You're almost there, right? Although the problem is, once you finally do see this light of day, it's probably not even going to be where you started it originally. Be like, you dig far enough, you might be like, oh shit, I'm in China now, right? So, yeah, maybe. Oh, and there was this sad story. Let me just cover this one too. Actually, let me see what's going on in the chat before I do, because I don't want to forget about this last one here. Okay. Because, there's one, okay, let me get the sad story, because this chat hasn't gone down too bad, so let me get this one. Once again, more consequences. Glad this was being reported on. Just one example, mind you, but you can rest assured that this kind of stuff's happening, to more than just this person. So this one's, judge bars Ontario father from matrimonial home for failing to take COVID-19 risks seriously. Normally practicing a nesting arrangement while with ailing ex-wife, failure to be candid on health practices gets dad temporarily ousted. An Ontario man has effectively been barred from his matrimonial home after a family law judge found that he was not taking the risk that COVID-19 poses to his children seriously enough. The case, heard March 31st by Justice Adriana Doyle of the Family Division of the Ottawa Superior Court of Justice, involved a couple that separated in August 2018 and subsequently implemented a parenting arrangement known as nesting, in which the adults rotated in and out of the house on an alternative week basis, while the 3 children maintained their residence without disruption. Following the development of the COVID-19 pandemic, however, the parties suspended the nesting arrangement and both parties remained in the home with the children aged 11, 13, and 17. 2 of the children suffer from asthma. The mother is on long-term disability, having been diagnosed with myriad health issues, including lupus, whatever disease, fibromyalgia, and asthma. Given her compromised immune system, on March 27, the mother's physician directed her to self-isolate as much as possible and to avoid possible virus exposure and avoid contact with other people, and not to leave the home unless absolutely necessary. Anyways, according to the judge ruling, the mother developed significant concerns as to whether the father was adhering to appropriate COVID-19 protocols during several trips he took outside the home. The mother's concerns were heightened when the father refused to be forthright about his whereabouts and whether he had washed his hands. The father, according to the ruling, disagreed. He insisted he was following all COVID-19 protocols recommended by the government of Canada, including practicing social distancing. The father told the court that his girlfriend, so I would suggest when this father was leaving the home, right? I would suggest some of the times when he was traveling outside the home was to go visit his girlfriend while he's living with his ex-wife in this arrangement, this nesting arrangement, right? Anyways, with whom he spent time while out of the home. Also practiced social distancing. So basically, from the father's perspective, from what he's saying, is he was, following the orders and stuff. On an urgent basis, the mother sought an order for exclusive possession of the home, which would exclude the father from the premises and significantly impact the parenting arrangements on which they had originally agreed. Justice Doyle found that the father's conduct to be problematic and to warrant an order for exclusive possession in the mother's favor. She also ordered that the father's contact with the children be by electronic means only. This order is made due to the father not taking the increased risk to the mother and children seriously, Justice Doyle said, knowing that it was a temporary solution in these exceptional times. So, think about it. That's just one example of what kind of effect this whole thing is having on even just an interpersonal and a family type situation. And I would imagine just under the scenario already, without bringing this COVID into the situation, doesn't sound like they were in a very good situation to begin with, right? Probably both of them, the mother and the father, probably not going through the greatest times of their life right now, considering, right? Trying to figure things. But already, I'm not going to pick sides here, mother or the father. But I'll just say, like I say, there's probably countless examples of things like this. And do we know for certain? I don't know. Like I say, I wasn't privy to the court files, nor am I going to be overly concerned to try to find out. Too many examples. I can't worry about every individual incident that's happening out there. But like I say, this is happening. Now you have a father that's not going to be able to be around his kids, and what that's going to be. Who knows? Like what that's going to be. I'm glad that they can at least talk to each other electronically. But once again, this is having an effect on people's personal and family lives now. So, and like I say, as this all unfolds, as time plays out, you're going to hear more and more stories of this. And every story you hear about stuff like this, just keep in mind that there's a whole lot more that you're never going to hear about. It's the unknowns that we're never going to hear about. Anyways, folks, looks like the chat's kind of slowing down, and I'm probably going to tie it up now. Anyways, I think, I got everything covered, and I think I got through all the chat, so that's great. I do not condone any illegal activity. I've done my part. Illegal money and drugs aren't tracked by the government. Is Trump planning a big event to whack? Have no idea about what Trump's doing. I really, really, really don't. So I can't pretend to know. Actually, let me see down here. Bennett, you take on Bernier, dropped out of forced. Your take on Bernier, dropped out of forced out, or deep state times not. That's favorite commie. That is favorite commie. Oh, Bernie Sanders. Yeah, he dropped out, right? Yeah, I heard that this morning. It was what was the Hill? I seen it reported on my Twitter feed. But yeah, Bernie Sanders dropping out. So now Joe Biden is basically, he's getting a... Oh, yeah, well, I would imagine. I'm obviously only speculating. I have no inside knowledge. But I would imagine, the DNC, they made a deal with Bernie of some sort for him to be willing to drop out, like, at this point in time, or either that, or he just seen the writings on the wall, and that he's not going to be given the opportunity to get the nomination. The Democrats aren't going to allow it to happen. So, who knows? Like I say, I don't know how that actually unfolded, but you can rest assured that there's probably some negotiating that took place, which means he's obviously willing to play ball, right? Would Ron Paul, when he was running, have taken a deal? I doubt it. Ron Paul was much more principled, right? Of course, Ron Paul was a free market capitalist libertarian himself, not a democratic socialist like Bernie. Even though they both were challenging the status quo, at least Ron Paul had the right philosophy and the right ideas. Bernie definitely does not. So, yeah, more than likely, he probably just took a deal of some sort. I would suggest, once again, I can't say I know that to be true. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Is government going to pay the bill for the rest of damaged child life, right? The child is going to be an adult with damaged brain. He or she cannot get job and fun. Yeah, like I say, so many things that are going to happen as a consequence of this stuff that the media won't report on. That's the thing when the media, even like any story, think about if you're a news outlet, like if you're a CBC, or you're on the editorial board or you're someone at CBC, you just call up whoever you know is going to give you the perspective you want. They have a Rolodex, right? Or probably on their computer now. But they have their typical experts they bring on because they know the kind of perspective, they know the ideology and the perspective that these people are going to take. So they know exactly who to call to get what it comes across as an informed opinion, but it's still a political opinion or perspective that you're getting because they're not going to tell you, like I say, I've said this many times before and I'll say it one more time. Until you start to hear the kind of information that I would say, anything even remotely resembling that, until you hear that, then you know that it's all controlled opposition by anyone in the establishment media. That's why you know you can't trust them, is because there are libertarians out here that actually will take the genuine libertarian stance. And I can say, I can back all my claims up, not with just political rhetoric or opinions that are based on subjective preferences, but based on objective logic and philosophy, the pursuit of truth or knowledge. I bring that to the table. What do they bring? Like people that claim to be experts, but once again will sit there and lie and misrepresent facts and that's why they usually put these articles under the politics section, right? Because then when it's under the politics section, then yeah, it's political, right? Then you can be like, well, then the lawyers, the legal class can say, oh no, you can be wrong because politics is never about being objectively true. Politics is literally, right, picking blue, light blue, or dark blue, right? Or red or blue. That's politics for you. You want red or do you want blue, right? So, yeah, like I say, until you start seeing people like myself, on any of these media outlets giving you some real lowdown, like the real lowdown, some real truth, like what I'm doing in this video, then just always know that those in the media it's controlled opposition. It's all controlled opposition. And it doesn't have to be, like I say, it's not all a big conspiracy. It's just people doing, like I say, if I wanted to hear a Catholic perspective on Catholicism, I'd call up a priest, right? Right. Simple as that. If you want to hear the statist perspective, then you call up a statist, right? Fatty McMahon buns or bubs? What's going on? All right. So yeah, it looks like I've kind of migrated. 3-phrase model for investment follows Christ. Check it out. Who would have thought that borrowing money would be cheap? Okay, so yeah, so I'm back up to where I was. So I guess I'm pretty much done for the comments there, folks. It does show that there's a few down there. So let me see. China lied about the coronavirus. Those lungs were destroyed with those. Okay, it looks like mostly just you folks talking back and forth. So yeah. So anyways, thanks for everyone that did show up to the chat today. Like I say, I'm going to try to do as many as possible. What is today? Wednesday? Well, it depends on how important the things are that are breaking from the news. If it's something, if there's or at least enough that I feel it's needed or necessary to cover, then I might do one tomorrow. Or if it's just slower, although not many slow news days these days, but I might wait till Friday and give myself a little bit of time. But just so everyone knows, I'm trying to keep them done earlier in the day so that my internet connection isn't at its worst. At night, it's freaking horrendous. I won't be able to do any streams at night. That's for sure. Because it would be just constant. Not just drop frames and freezing, but literally it would just be fail constant. So that's why I try to do my streams. I'm sorry that I do have to do them this early, but anyways, like I say, I'll try to keep doing them as many as I can, keeping people informed. At least now, even though I'm getting to my limit on my StreamYards, at least by using this, it's an alternative streaming venue for me to use that I can use. So let's see. Oh, and this weekend I do believe that Adam Wasserman wants to have another conversation with me, but we'll see how that all pans out. I had a couple other people. I was supposed to have the chat this weekend with Dave from Tim Moen's channel, Tim Moen Liberty Journey. If you haven't checked him out, go ahead and do so. He's the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, and him and Dave do their own kind of show or podcast. And me and Dave were supposed to talk. The topic was, millennials, people under 35, and their reverence for the state, which is, a really important topic that I definitely want to discuss because, yes, the younger people today are going to be very heavily indoctrinated into the faith, right? And we were going to have that conversation, but he got caught up and had to do something else. Or is he still down the States? He was down the States. I don't even know if he's back in Canada yet. But eventually we're gonna get that done. I'll let everyone know when that happens. And I don't know if it's going to be on my channel. Yeah, I'm going to interview him on my channel. So it'll be on my channel. But either way, even if I was going to do it on their channel, I'd always let everyone know and place links. But anyways, like I say, thanks for everyone who has showed up to the stream. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't as well. And I'll see you in the next live stream. Like I say, take care of everyone. Oh, yeah, I got to go back into here. And we'll see you. Like I say, we'll see you.